really need like a set catchphrase to begin one of these things every single time. Make a good t-shirt. Anyway, what's happening, you guys? Welcome back to my home, and I hope you guys have been doing well. It's holiday season, so my episodes have been pretty sporadic as of late. Got a lot going on, a lot of family in town and stuff, and trying to see them, trying to balance work with family time, with social obligations, and BretFlix obligations. There's a lot going on right now. But real quick, I was able to find the time today to record something for you guys real quick, because there's a lot of great movies that we still need to cover that are on Netflix. Let's see, in this episode I decided I'm going to talk about a couple recent ones, some pretty new movies, and one, I wouldn't call it an old movie, but it's from the early 2000s. So some newer films this episode. One again from the Coen Brothers, who I've talked about the movies before on my show. One from a filmmaker I'm not familiar with, so I don't remember the filmmaker's name. But it's a great movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a really great one. And then the Richard Linklater's not his most recent movie, but like his second to most recent movie. So let's get it started here. First, I'm going to talk about the Coen Brothers film I mentioned, because I just did a video where I discussed the Coen Brothers' Burn After Reading, and Burn After Reading is actually part 3 of kind of an unofficial like trilogy that the Coen Brothers did with George Clooney. They called it their Idiot trilogy, where they would cast George Clooney in a role in one of their films, and he would play an idiot, basically. And the first film of that trilogy is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is available to stream on Netflix. The second film being Intolerable Cruelty, third film being Burn After Reading. Now, Clooney just worked with the Coen Brothers again in their most recent film, Hail Caesar, which I haven't seen. I don't know if that's supposed to be a part 4 or what, so don't know about that. But the first film is available to stream on Netflix, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. I feel like this is probably one most people have seen and most people know really well. It is a modern classic. It's one of those movies that's kind of impossible to hate. It has an amazing look. It's a really funny film. Has an incredible soundtrack, actually. It's one of the few soundtracks my family has like always owned. One of two. Like when I was growing up, like we always had the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack ready to go, and the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack ready to go. The music in the film is absolutely incredible. And it's a film based on the Odyssey, so there's a lot going on. They take a very big Odyssey. It has a great set of supporting characters and everything. It's like I said, it's one I'm pretty sure most people have seen and already know really well. So I'm just gonna kind of leave you at that. So watch the film. It is the Coen Brothers at their height. They at first they were pioneers in independent cinema back in the 90s, and they went on just to make really great films, whether they be for studios or if they're smaller films. Again, every single one of their movies is so interesting to see what they're going to deliver. Some of them hit, some of them don't. But even the ones that don't are, still definitely worth your time, still worth an experience. And Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was a really great experience. So that's my first pick for this episode, is watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. Even if you're rewatching it, even if you've already seen the movie, return to it, because it's one that never gets old. It's always entertaining, no matter how many times you've seen it. Now, recently, Jake Gyllenhaal, an actor we all know and love, from films like Prince of Persia. Okay, sorry, that was a really bad joke. And not from Prince of Persia. In fact, if anything, he's the actor we all know and love, in spite of Prince of Persia. And in fact, it's pretty amazing he even had a career after Prince of Persia. But he's had an incredible career after Prince of Persia, and had a really good one beforehand. He was in Fincher's Zodiac, which is a great film. But recently, it seems like every single movie he's been doing has gotten a lot of attention and a lot of positive critical reaction. And so kind of just in these past few years, like in the past 4 or 5 years, like he's been picking really interesting projects and challenging himself a lot as an actor and pulling off all these really difficult roles. And my favorite of the ones that I've seen, he's been in a bunch, like Demolition and Enemy. Some of them I haven't seen, but my favorites are the ones that I've seen of his kind of recent revival, or whatever you'd want to call it, is a film called Nightcrawler, available to stream on Netflix Instant. Nightcrawler, from the very second you see Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie, you just know there's something not right about this dude. Like, there's something just in his head. Like, he's not like a very big physical presence, but just that look on his face, his weird kind of greasy hair, the way he looks a little like way too skinny, almost like he might be using some sort of drug, but it never actually like confirms that or anything. He just looks strange. He looks creepy. Like, you don't trust this dude, but he is what this movie's about. So you spend a lot of time with this guy, and he just continues to get darker and darker and crazier. But your fascination in him gets very, very big. And I mean, just to be so fascinated and so into a character that's so twisted is kind of scary in and of itself. But what the film's about, it's a film called Nightcrawler. Nightcrawlers are people who go around at night and try to find really violent and gruesome crime scenes, as they had just happened, and get footage of it, and they sell that footage to like news stations and stuff. So that's where news stations get their footage that they air when they do the stories on these terrible events. And Jake Gyllenhaal finds out about these people, and he tries it out himself, and he finds out he's very good at it, and he is almost a little too good at it. He's a little too ballsy with the job. And he even is willing to do a lot of very unethical things to get the very best shots for his stuff. And so he becomes a very successful Nightcrawler. I've seen this movie several times. I've discussed it several times. And I feel like I've still just barely scraped the surface of understanding who this guy is. But he's totally fascinating. And so yeah, I highly recommend Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is one of my favorite films, actually, to come out so far in this decade. We're 6 years into the decade, and Nightcrawler is so far my kind of my top, at least top 10. So when I eventually get around to doing my top 5 favorite films of the current decade, which if you're a follower, I'm going through the decades right now in my top 5 series. I'm probably going to mention Nightcrawler, because, or at least have it as an honorable mention. The film is really great. It's a unique experience. It's 2 hours, but it feels like 10 minutes. So, highly recommend Nightcrawler. Okay, now lastly is a very, very special movie, very sentimental movie. From the great Richard Linklater. I've reviewed a film of his on the show before. I reviewed his film Bernie, which I'm not sure if that one's still available to stream or not. If it is, look it up and watch it. And of course watch my episode on it. Give me at least one more view on there. But Richard Linklater is a really great filmmaker. I've actually met the man at a film festival once. Don't mean to brag yet again. But the film of his I'm going to talk about is Boyhood. And Boyhood, you may have already heard about it, but I'll describe it real quick. It was a big deal when it came out, and it still is kind of one of the most unique films I've ever seen before. Boyhood is a movie about a young boy. You meet him when he's about 5 years old, maybe a little older, I don't really remember. But when he's about 5 years old, and you watch him grow up, basically. You watch him become a man. You follow him all the way up until I think he gets into college. And what makes this movie so special is they spent 12 years shooting this film. So they actually used the same cast for the whole thing. So you meet this little boy when he's 5. And when there's scenes with him when he's 7, it's the same kid 2 years later. So they would film for a while, and then they would take breaks, let the whole cast grow, and age and everything. So you're actually watching the same boy from 5 years old all the way up to about 18, 19 years old, going into college. You see, his life experience, and you know, how he came to be who he was and stuff, and so you watch this person grow up step by step, and it's a long movie. It's about, I think it's a solid 3 hours, but it's one of those movies that definitely needs to be that long because you're experiencing, you know, the life of somebody, obviously, so it's got to be lengthy. The movie was up for every Oscar when it came out. It won, I know it won at least one. I think Patricia Arquette, she won, and I'm not sure if it won others. But, you know, like Richard Linklater was nominated for Best Director, it was nominated for Best Picture. Barack Obama, our Commander-in-Chief, said it was his favorite film of 2014, I believe is the year it came out. So, and it was also my favorite film of 2014. And just watching, you get so sentimental. I imagine, like, I'm not a parent, I don't have children, but, I can only imagine what it must be like when you're a parent and your kids have grown and you go back to, say, like old like home video footage of when they were really little, and just like how that must hit you, like in a positive way, of course, and somewhat of a negative way because you probably miss those days and wish that they were that young again or something. And you know, you watch all these videos, and even just as a parent, you watch your children grow up, and and maybe that's kind of something you take for granted because I mean, I don't have kids myself, but I do have a niece and I have several nephews, and I've been there from day one, and I've watched them all grow up, and you know, you kind of take it all for granted. Like, you don't see the differences over time. Basically, it's kind of like watching your hair grow. Like, you don't really realize like your hair is getting longer. You just kind of wake up one day and be like, I think my hair's a little too long, and so you cut it again. But you don't like see, okay, it's grown this much in this amount of time. It's just such a slow process. And it's the same thing when you watch people grow up. But then, like, you go back to their, you know, you go back to footage from when they were little kids, and you go, geez, you changed so much. And that's kind of what this film is like, because you get scenes that it skips every couple years, and so when you revisit the family, like, you see how they've grown, and it's like, whoa, it's like you have broader shoulders now, and you have facial hair, and your voice is lower, you know, and your interests have changed, and, you know, you're no longer this little kid who was obsessed with dinosaurs. Now you're into video games, or now you're into, you know, cars or something like that. Just, I just kind of remind you just kind of how, you know, rewarding of a process, you know, raising kids can be. And again, this is just me speculating, because I mean, I'm an uncle. I feel like I'm a very devoted uncle, and I've helped my sisters with their kids a bunch, but still, like, I'm not a parent though, so I can only imagine what that must feel like. And this film is really special because it kind of gives you a glimpse of that, and it's something that not just parents will relate to, because obviously I've related to this. Like, I watched this film and I was deeply impacted by it, and parents will probably have an even deeper appreciation of what this film is doing. It's a wonderful movie, and there's no way I could explain it to do it justice. Boyhood is going to be one of the great films of all time. I think it already is. I would even say it already is. So watch Boyhood, please. Alrighty, so we covered some good movies today. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Nightcrawler, and Boyhood. If you've watched those movies, I don't know if you've already seen any of them or not. And of course, the usual. Let me know what you think of them. I want to know if I'm actually recommending movies that people are into, that people are interested in seeing. Because obviously, you know, what movies are great, what movies are awesome, is just opinion. These are just my opinion, so I don't want to just keep catering to what I'm into. Like, I want to see what other people are into, what other people want to see. So give me as much feedback as possible, please. Let's see, do I have any shout-outs? Yes, I do. I have a shout-out I want to give to my sister Sleece. Not to you know, forget about my other sister Ashley, but both are very supportive of me, of course. But Sleece, every video I make, she shares, and she tries to get it out there, and she'll watch them, and everything. And so I really appreciate that, Sleece. Thank you very much. You're the man, woman, whatever you want. So that all being said, another good episode another one for the books. I'll see you guys next time.